The development of Internet is a very democratic grassroots development process, said Ono Purwo, a computer specialist, in one of his seminars at a university in Yogyakarta, October 31st, 1996. In the 90s, the world witnessed the transformation of the Internet, an originally military invention, public service, academic superhighway, into a full-blown commercialized machine. In Indonesia, a lot of the groundwork of building the superhighway was pioneered by what's called the Habibie kids. This is a reference to a generation of foreign and locally trained technologists who benefited from the policies championed by the influential Minister for Research and Technology, BACHARUDDIN, JUSUF Habibie. Habibie was a man who enjoyed President Suharto's patronage for more than 20 years in the field of technology and research. He was also the first Indonesian minister to have an internet homepage. Many of the nation's first computer engineers were benefited from Habibie's grand vision of a high-tech 21st century modern Indonesia. During the 80s, the internet was a highly expensive technology that was used in universities and internally within the National Postal Company, PT Pos Indonesia. Accessing internet required international telephone line in order to use service providers such as CIX from the UK and CompuServe from the US. According to sources such as the Asia-Pacific Network Information Center and America Regional Internet Registries, at 1983, the first Internet protocol was registered by the University of Indonesia's UI-NET Lab. Universities had been involved in experiments on Internet links since the mid-1980s. Prestigious universities like Bandung Institute of Technology, Surabaya Institute of Technology, GAJAH MADA, and the University of Indonesia had collaborated from 1986 in the establishment of an inter-university network, UNI-NET, funded by the Department of Education and Culture's Directorate of Higher Education. In the same year, the National Research Council, under Habibie, recommended the development of Science and Technology Information Services. In 1989, this resulted, under the BPPT, the Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, into the design of the information network known as IPTEKNet. As the 80s came to a close, mass publications such as KOMPAS have started publishing articles about the technology of the World Wide Web, and more Indonesians were introduced to the Internet. During this time, the Internet was seen and championed as an educational tool, far from the commercialized form that we know of today. IPTEKNet began offering global internet access in June 1994 and became the major non-commercial internet provider for research and academic work. At the same year, INDONET negotiated with PT INDOSAT, the government-owned satellite company, to establish an internet service. INDONET became the first commercial ISP in Indonesia. With IPTEKNet increasingly accessible to academic staff in the major universities, and with the arrival of private commercial ISPs in the metropole of Java, the Internet began developing a public profile in Indonesia. At the same time, the speed and efficiency of the technology was rapidly improving and spreading throughout the country. However, there was a widespread belief that the government made a policy decision to issue only a limited number of ISP licenses during this time. The licenses were only available to companies run by high-tech young professionals who were outside of the politically well-connected conglomerates which dominated the domestic economy. No official statement was made about the rumor, and over the first year, some of these young companies were slowly taken over by major conglomerates or even the government. CBN-NET, for example, was rumored to have been absorbed into the Salim Group Corporation. Similarly, RADNET, headed by a very young and highly qualified leadership, also developed political connections rumored to include former Minister Bustanil Arifin, and to a lesser extent, Admiral Sudomo and President Suharto's son-in-law, Prabowo Subianto. Increasingly, this practice was opening the industry to be taken over by incorporation and conglomerates with prior investments in the satellite and telecommunication industries. In 1993, KOMPAS posted the first ever online image of an Indonesian swimmer, Wisnuwardana, in SEA Games, Singapore. Before this, reporters always had to stood by international airports just in case of a breaking news was gonna happen. Other publications were stunned about how fast KOMPAS delivered the news along with the captured image, since they were the first publication to work online. Throughout the 90s, internet in Indonesia is known more as a community or paguyuban, where there was a spirit of teamwork and kinship among its users. It was a common practice to share passwords and accounts, and also to print out newsletter bulletins and to distribute them on paper. According to Onowe Purbo in his research, most of the internet users during this time were between 25 to 40 years old, single or married without children. 70 to 80% were male, from middle to upper income groups with at least a university degree. By the end of 1995, there were estimated to be 15,000 internet users in Indonesia being serviced by 5 commercial ISPs. Over the following 6 months, the figure grew a lot. By May 1996, 22 ISPs were listed. By the late 90s, internet spread throughout the country and was accessible from various cities and provinces. Computers and dial-up internet access became a must-have item for the emerging middle-class families. However, by the end of the decade, internet was not available to the large majority of Indonesians, not only because of economic constraints, but also because it is seen as a tool or toy for the mostly male middle-class professionals. Thank you for watching the first part of Indonesia's internet history documentary series. In the second part, we will be discussing more about Indonesia's internet cafes, which is popularly known as warnet. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more Indonesian historical content such as this. Also, write down your thoughts and maybe fun facts you know about this topic on the comment section below.